Hey guys, welcome back to the Insoles Skate Shop YouTube channel. I'm Ivo and I'm here today with Niels. Niels is a representative of the Superfeet company. So in this video, we'll ask Niels everything there is to know about the Superfeet brand and why it's beneficial for inline skating. Hey Niels, welcome in the shop, of course.
Thank you.
We are here in the Amsterdam shop. We have a shop in Berlin as well, and we sell Superfeet here. It's a complicated product in a way because there's a lot of tech behind it, and not everybody initially understands what the benefits are. So I think it's good to do a deep dive in the Superfeet brand. Can you maybe start with a little bit of the history where Superfeet is coming from?
Sure. So thanks first of all for having me.
Yeah.
Superfeet is a company that derives from the medical market. So basically the two people who came up with the brand in 1977. The one is Dr. Chris Smith. He's a doctor of podiatric medicine, and he teamed up with Dr. Dennis Brown, a doctor of science, and they decided to do something for the people with foot problems, and they came up with a method of making orthopedic insoles in their lab. It's called Northwest Podiatric Lab. It's just south of Vancouver. The lab is still there. They have been making insoles for doctors in America. So basically you have a foot problem, you go to a doctor, the doctor makes a cast. That's the old-fashioned way. Now we do it with scans, and then the scan comes to the lab and they build an orthopedic insole, and then the insole goes back to the doctor and to the patient. The problem with that is that the doctors in America, they can ask whatever they want. So we know of doctors that will sell the orthopedic insole for $200 maybe, but also $800.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
So they decided, because they knew the insole worked for a lot of people, and they also knew that not a lot of people have the ability to pay that much money. So they decided at one point to create an OTC, an over-the-counter insole, and make it at a reasonable price level. So $50, €50, and start selling that. And that was basically the birth of Superfeet in 1977.
Okay. That's awesome. I'm happy they did this.
Long story.
What, there was not an over-the-counter insole before that?
No.
Like, not one like this?
No, it didn't exist. And most insoles that were on the market and that are still on the market are very soft. We're going to discuss that later, soft versus hard. So they were basically the first ones to make an over-the-counter insole with a medical background, one that really works.
So what are the advantages of the Superfeet brand? There's three, you said. There's the fit, stability, and the comfort. Can you dive into that?
Yeah, I can, but if we do that, we first have to look at feet a little bit. That's also,
I love that you brought these.
Yeah, that's also interesting. So there's basically, if you divide the foot types into three extremes, then we have a very extreme model here. You just told me that on a busy Saturday, when you have somebody like this in the store, it's going to be a long day, because how can you find a skate for a foot with an arch this high or with toes this high? The good thing is that only roughly 3% of all the Western people have a foot like this. So it's called a hollow foot. It's very hollow from the. There's a big bump here, but it's hollow from the bottom. And it has to do. It's a very stiff and rigid foot. It has to do with the tendon, which is basically too short. And if the tendon is too short, tendon is fixed at the heel and at the toes. You will immediately pull those together.
What tendon is it? It's
the tendon, the plantar fascia. Basically, there's three extreme foot types that I brought. First one is the hollow foot. The second one is the flat foot, low instep, no arch. You can see very skinny foot. Its toes are a little bit to the outside. This is very common at the moment. So basically 80% of the people right now in the Western world are in in this category.
Whoa.
Not as extreme as this, but
Yeah.
in the category.
Whoa.
And so we have 3 and 80, so there's 17% left.
With normal feet.
With the most extreme foot nowadays, because this is a normal foot or a neutral foot.
Okay.
This is a foot where the instep height is exactly the way it should be. There's a nice arch.
Yeah.
Toes are straight, heel is straight. Everything is, if you look at the bones, they all connect the way they should. So
Yeah.
they're connected like this and not like this. You can compare the space between the bones.
Ah, yeah. You see here the space. Yeah. And here not. Yeah.
So a lot of people, or not a lot of people, have this foot.
Yeah.
But this is the best working foot. So
Yeah.
the way a foot is supposed to work. This is the best, and that is also why all the skates you see in the store here,
Yeah.
and on the wall over there, and all the running shoes and the ski boots and the hiking boots and sneakers, they're all built on this foot.
Yeah.
And there you see the mismatch.
Yeah.
If 17% of the people have this foot, but 100% of the skates are built on
Yeah.
this foot,
Yeah.
and 80% are basically here, there is your first issue, fit.
Yeah.
Very simple, the foot just doesn't fit the skate
Yeah.
or the shoe,
Yeah.
right? So if we can make the position of the foot a little bit better, your fit inside the shoe or the skate will improve.
Yeah.
That's the first benefit. The second benefit, if your foot is more in a straight alignment, then you will immediately feel more comfort because you have less bones touching the side of the skate or the toes touching the front, etc.
So this spot here, if it pushes down, is also sometimes a pressure point.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So maybe you can show if the foot is unstable, then you can see that the bones turn to the inside.
Yeah.
And it will turn to the inside of the skate.
Yeah.
And it will touch. So if you take away all those things, the comfort will be better. So comfort is linked to fit, basically, if you break it down. And then the third benefit, we usually don't speak about, but it's stability. And it's mostly in stores where they work with people who do a lot of sport. Because if you are a very good road cycler, or you're a good skier, or you're a good inline skater, you want basically to have an alignment between your hip, your knee, and your foot.
Yeah.
Because that makes your movement stronger.
Yeah.
So that also happens. So it's
But now you're talking about this alignment, right?
Yeah.
What Niels is saying, if you adjust the position of the foot, you also adjust the position of the knee actually, and especially for cycling, but also for skating and a lot of those sport activities that have to do with the foot. They depend on like a straight alignment between the hips, the knee, and the toes like this, and you cannot effectively cycle hard or skate effective if this is not aligned.
Yeah. Exactly. And it happens when your foot is unstable. So this basically are the two stable categories, the hollow foot and the neutral foot, and then this we call the unstable. So 80% of the people have an unstable foot. That's how we talk about it.
Yeah.
An unstable foot will collapse.
Yeah.
But if you collapse immediately, your shin will turn to the inside.
Yeah.
So then you will get from the heel to the knee to the hip, you will get an angle.
Yeah.
And an angle will make sure that you will lose power.
A nice way how I sometimes show this to people is when I put my hand flat on the table like this.
Yeah.
You see that my wrist and my elbow sits like this, but then when I put my hand in this position, you see that my arm's actually rotating here.
Yeah.
So having a different foot position then changes the angle of the knee.
Yeah.
And the shin.
So that's about the three benefits. No, and what I wanted to say, why do we need an insole in skates? If we look how a skate is built up, there is the shell, and then there's the liner.
Yeah.
And inside the liner there's usually a thing. And it's funny because in Holland we call this an insole and we call this an insole.
Yeah.
But in America they call this a sock liner.
Okay.
And they call this an insole. So there is actually a difference. A sock liner, what is the purpose of a sock liner?
Yeah.
It's to protect your sock against whatever is inside the shoe.
Okay.
Yeah. And this is a high quality skate, I presume, because
Yeah.
it looks really neat.
Yeah.
So there's nothing going on inside of the liner. It looks very well done. Sometimes with cheaper shoes or skates or whatever, you can see a total mess. If you go to the cheap sneakers, you can see threads, you can see duct tape, you can see little nails.
Yeah, you're right.
So basically, what they use this for is they put it in there as a generic sock liner to protect your sock.
Yeah.
It doesn't give any cushioning, it doesn't give any comfort. It's basically there as a sock liner, and that's why there is a use for an insole.
Yeah, nice.
Yeah.
Thank you. Okay, so now we touched on the fit and the stability and the comfort.
Yeah.
Is that all you wanted to say about that?
No, there's more. I told you I was going to talk a little bit about the ligaments and the bones and the muscles, etc. So if you look at a foot, now we're going a little bit deep into the subject.
Yeah, nice.
I know you like that.
Yeah.
There's a lot going on.
Yeah.
Right. So it is in a foot. There's 28 bones.
Okay.
There's 2 funny bones. That's those 2 here, which are basically not attached to anything. But if you walk and you roll off, the joint opens.
Okay.
And then they will slide forward to protect the joint.
Okay.
It's like a kneecap.
Oh.
So, but basically, if we talk about one foot, there's 28 bones.
Okay.
That means there's 56 into feet, and we have roughly just over 200 in the bodies. That means that more than 25% of the bones are in your foot.
Ah, crazy.
And why is that?
Yeah.
Have you ever thought about it?
It's a phenomenon. Yeah, that's super weird because like horses, they have like hooves, and it's like how many bones do horses have in their foot? Maybe not so much.
Good question.
So I don't know, but
I'm not an expert on that.
I mean, you can maybe make an argument if this would be just like one bone, and you could really like just stamp and run like this. Maybe it would be also very.
The question basically, Ivo, is that what is the purpose of your foot? What does it do?
Walk. Yeah.
And when you walk, does your foot needs to be like a rigid structure?
Yeah.
Or does it need to be a little bit flexible?
Yeah. I don't know. I never thought of this. Yeah.
Okay. Let me make it easy.
Yeah.
When you walk, the foot is moving.
Yeah.
So it needs to be flexible.
Okay.
Right? And when you jump or when you run or with your skate, when you land on something, you need the structure to be rigid.
Yeah.
Right? Because there's a movement within the foot. It's called supination, pronation.
Yeah.
And then there is roll off, but in a skate we don't roll off. But the supination, pronation is basically the movement that the foot goes through. And the reason for that is that in supination, I can show it with this one, the foot turns to the outside.
Yeah, it's for subsidies. So you do this for subsidies, and this is for pros.
Yes, exactly.
So that's how I always remember.
Yeah. So if the foot turns to the outside, the biomechanics, it's very technical, but I'll spare you the details. Will make the joint here lock. So this is the mid-tarsal joint. When the foot hits the floor and the ground reaction force lifts up the fifth, then this locks and the arch will become super rigid. So in that phase, your foot becomes the stability factor, right? So it will make sure that you don't fall over during your landing or your heel strike or whatever. But then when we go to pronation, when we walk and we go to pronation, the forces turn around, and basically the foot becomes a flexible structure.
No, okay.
And that's why it's so technical.
Yeah.
So we have one structure.
Yeah.
And why flexible? Because it needs to be a shock absorber. If we don't have a shock absorber, our knee will be bust within a week, right? We are dealing with a structure that has to do two things, which are basically opposite of each other.
Yeah.
Supination is the impact, and pronation is the shock absorption.
Okay.
So the structure needs to be rigid at a certain point, but also flexible at another point. This is why we have the 28 bones in the foot, right? 56. That's why we have 25% of all the bones are in your feet. That makes the foot super important. Then besides the bones, there is ligaments, there's muscles, there's joints, there's tendons, there's nerves, there's blood vessels, there is soft tissue, there's fat. So there's a lot going on. And that's also the reason that if you have a foot problem, you see a lot of people walking around with a toe that is like this.
Yeah.
I don't know if you ever get them in the store.
Yeah,
They call it-
especially if skating, it's this one.
Oh yeah, okay, but this is usually it's more women than men.
Yeah, true. Yeah.
And it's basically
High heels.
well, it's high heels.
Yeah.
So it's a deformity. If you
Yeah.
irritate bone,
Yeah.
bone grows.
Yeah. Yeah.
So people are not born with the lump
Yeah.
over here, but if you put a foot
Yeah.
on a high heel,
Yeah.
usually the shoes are narrower.
Yeah.
Then you will see the joint opens and
Yeah.
people walk around with that. So it's more common with women, but
Yeah.
also men can have it.
Yeah.
And it also becomes that comes out of the instability of the foot.
Yeah.
You know, if you walk and the foot collapses, you will get problems in rolling off because the tendon on the bottom is totally stretched already. So people will usually turn to the outside. I saw it with my cameraman. He walks with his feet wide, and then you will start to roll off over the joint.
Yeah.
And if you irritate bone grows.
Yeah, skaters have that on the outside.
Yeah.
I call it the sixth toe. I have it too, and
Yeah.
it was in the beginning when I was younger. I didn't have it, but specifically in certain skate models that have like a small toe, because the toe gets pushed on the inside. Actually, this little thingy gets pushed to the outside,
Yeah.
and then it irritates and it grows.
Yeah.
Yeah. One thing that you can do about it is skate a different skate that has like a wider toe box. If you can find it, of course, if you come to our stores, you can try all the skates here. But another thing that we can do is we can actually boot fit these plastic boots. So if you have this problem, come to our stores and then we can heat mold it and push it out for you. So that's one fix that we can do. Does a Superfeet prevent any part of this?
I was gonna say if you start boot fit.
Yeah.
Then you will always have to start with an insole because it all comes down to the instability of the foot.
Yeah.
You know, I'll put those two away because we don't need them anymore. We're talking this foot usually.
Yeah.
You know, 80% of the people. I said, what happens in this foot is that your foot will land, and also in the skate you will put power on it, and then it will collapse.
Yeah.
And you see what happens when it collapses.
Yeah.
This comes to the inside
Yeah.
of the shell. But the forefoot will roll to the outside. If the foot rolls to the outside, it will always touch the side.
Yeah.
And
Exactly,
if you then say, okay, let's make some room, and you don't stabilize the foot, the foot will go into that little extra room and touch it again. There's a lot going on inside of the skate that people usually don't think about.
So like boot fittings always should start from the inside out. So that's a really interesting perspective that I 100% agree with. So before you do anything on boot fitting, first get a new insole, then look at your liner and heat mold your liner, and then maybe tighten your laces more, and then we boot fit.
So if we look at the unstable foot, you can see several things. First of all, the arch has collapsed. So the instep, this we call the instep of the foot, the boog, the wreef.
The wreef in Dutch.
The wreef in Dutch. The instep of the foot is very low, and usually most skates have a certain size.
Yeah.
So if your foot collapses inside of a skate that has too much room, you will have too much room here. What people then do is they try to lace it up even more, or get to with the straps, and you will push down the foot even further. And there's a big artery that goes to the toes, and if you block the artery, you will feel your toes starting to tingle.
Okay.
So that's already a signal. When you have toes that are tingling, it could be that this is too tight. Second is if the foot collapses, we already discussed this, the ankle bone and the navicular, we call this the navicular, they will turn towards the inside of the skate. If the foot collapses, it will elongate and the tendon will be overstretched usually, The elongation is also a super important thing, because if the foot elongates, what people usually do is this: my skate is too short.
Yeah.
You size up,
Yeah.
right? We go
The
higher,
height, yeah.
but a size, size is a number, but the number reflects volume.
Yeah.
So basically, when you take a longer skate,
Yeah.
the width and the height will also
Yeah.
become more. So basically, we have a problem here, and we try to solve it by creating more space here,
Yeah.
which is also something you have to think about. Another thing is an unstable foot will usually the heel bone will turn a little bit, which will cause friction here. Also a very common point. So if we usually look at feet, and then we assess if people have unstable feet.
Yeah.
And then we advise them, maybe you should try something to make the fit better. If the fit becomes better, you automatically have more comfort.
Yeah.
And stability.
So there's different foot sizes.
Yeah.
And there's also different Superfeet. So if you look at the Superfeet, this one says it's for all sizes,
All heights.
all arch heights.
All
Yes.
arch heights,
Yeah.
yeah.
All arch heights.
Yeah.
And but there's these two extreme foot differences. How can like an average insole be good for both these extremities? How should I look at?
Yeah, well, it's a good question. It's sometimes a little bit confusing. What we try to tell with the arch height is basically the arch height of the foot, but it relates directly to the skate we put the foot into.
Yeah.
So if you have, for example, in the ski industry, we have beginner ski boots,
Okay.
which are wide and high,
Okay.
and race boots that are very narrow and low.
Oh, okay.
So then, in the ski industry, we work with different arch heights.
Mhm.
If we look at skates,
Yeah.
they're basically all the same because
Yeah.
they're very, very high and wide, right?
Yeah. Yeah.
You
true.
don't have, or maybe you do, but I don't know. But maybe you do have a very narrow, low volume skate.
In general, there's only like one or two models that are extremely low volume. Yeah.
So what we see in skate is that usually a generic arch height will always work.
Yeah.
But what if you have somebody with a foot like this, extremely high,
Yeah.
extremely volume,
Yeah.
extreme volume? It's very wide, high foot. Then we have to start working with boot fitting.
Yeah.
And that means that if we need to find a skate first of all with a lot of volume.
Yeah.
You can take the insole out and put a thinner insole in there, or
Yeah.
a thinner Superfeet, and
Yeah.
there's multiple things you can do. We have, if you look at the heights of other insoles, I brought some with me.
Mhm.
Then this, and this is a carbon which is super thin.
Yeah.
So usually you can work with, you need to look at the foot and work with insoles, but also socks. Super important. I don't know if you sell socks here.
Yeah, we use the
Okay, so if you have a very skinny foot,
Yeah.
and the skate insole combination is too wide, you can fill it up with a thick sock,
Yeah.
and vice versa.
Mhm.
So this is usually boot fitting.
Yeah.
And again, I said earlier, this is only 3% of the people. This is neutral, normal,
Yeah.
which is never an issue, and this is the big challenge.
Yeah. So how do we solve this challenge with the Superfeet insole?
Do we solve it?
Do we solve it?
Do
Yeah,
we
yeah,
solve
exactly.
it? That
Yeah.
it's a good question.
How can we improve the skating experience of somebody with this?
Well, the theory is that Superfeet works from the heel.
Yeah.
If we go back to the bone foot, which I have here, and we look at the 28 bones,
Mhm.
and we look at how the foot works, it will land on the heel, usually when you walk, right?
Yeah.
Your heel bone is the biggest bone in the foot.
Yeah.
So the unstable foot will have too much movement in the heel.
Mhm.
It's something that you cannot train.
Yeah.
It's something you get from, it's hereditary, so
Okay.
it's never your fault. It's always your mother's or your father's or even further up.
Okay.
But if you start walking, you land,
Yeah.
foot rolls in. Maybe I can show it on the table. So we roll, and then usually the foot or the heel bone tilts. And when the heel bone tilts, the little plateau here is gone. and the whole structure collapses. That's how it works. This foot is a supinating foot.
Yeah.
So this foot tends to be more to the outside.
Okay.
This foot tends to be more to the inside.
Yeah.
What Superfeet did to stabilize the feet is make a heel cup. And it's hard. It's plastic mixed with carbon fiber. And it will stabilize the heel bone. It will stabilize it in both directions.
Oh, yeah.
So 80% of the people go to the inside.
Yeah.
It will prevent the heel bone from going massively to the inside. If you put this foot on there, it will prevent the heel bone of going too far to the outside. Do we have a lot of success? I would say it's 50-50. So if you have a foot like this, my advice is come to the store. There's demos. Take your skates, put them in there and go ride if you like it.
Yeah.
And I've seen over 20 years, 50% of the people,
Yeah.
they like it. And 50% will say, I don't know.
Yeah.
You know, and if it's I don't know,
Yeah.
then why should you do it?
Yeah, of course.
So if you have a foot like this, come to the store and just try it. You know, you have the demos. You can help those people. That's another one. If you have a super normal foot, do you need an insole?
Yeah, I think yes, for the stabilization of the foot, because it locks the heel, and then it locks the foot in the resting position where it's like a lot more fixed. So if you make any movement, there's the translation of energy is bigger than if your foot is just like loose in the skate.
So
without fixation.
It will definitely do something.
Yeah.
Question is, do you feel it? And then we come back to the comfort part.
Yeah.
I know I know some people, not a lot. I know some people with a foot like this. My wife, for example, she has a foot like this. She loves insoles because it makes the walking and the sport much more comfortable. And if that's your benefit, fine. Will it help you in terms of fit? Probably less. Less than a foot like this. But there is several benefits. So yes, we can help. But come and see. Yes, we can help, especially the comfort part. But we focus mostly on these because those are the poor suckers like myself, who really can benefit. Yeah, you know.
And regarding this foot, then I have another critical question, because this foot is like entirely flat on the bottom, and I actually know somebody that has exactly this foot next to you, of course.
Yeah.
But like, there's really not a match with this insole on this foot, because it's just such a different shape that it would be, really, you're like bending it takes force to bend the foot, to bend this foot in that shape.
Yeah.
So how do
I can see where the question comes from.
Yeah.
This is a model of a foot that is weight bearing.
Yeah.
Right? So there's a lot of weight on this foot.
Yeah.
That's why it looks like this. And while we are standing, my foot looks like this as well.
Okay.
This insole, or all the insoles that Superfeet make, they are based on the non-weight bearing neutral foot. Yeah. And why do we do that? Because if we look at the foot non-weight bearing, there's always the nice arch structure. And Superfeet is based on the non-weight bearing foot. The best way to answer your question is pull out one of my own insoles, which I accidentally have in my pocket. I have been wearing this insole for 6 months, and I have this flat foot. If you look at the insole, what has happened, you see the pressure, and it makes basically a good roll-off line. I don't know if it's visible on the camera. And what you also see is that the arch part has not been touched. Yeah. So what this proves to me is that if you stabilize the heel bone and you make your feet less moving inside of the shoe, because your heel bone has less margin to play in, basically, then the foot will not collapse as much. Yeah. Yeah. Exactly. So. Yes, this is flat. Yeah. Yes, there's an arch. Yeah. Will that hurt? It could. Yeah. There's always a break-in period that we advise people. Yeah. So don't go skate for 8 hours on your new insole. Yeah. Take your old insoles with you. If people buy it here, give them also back with the customer and try it for half an hour, try it for an hour, and if it feels good, you can leave them in. If it doesn't, you can switch back a little bit and use the break-in period.
Yeah, interesting to see that from your Superfeet that it really works due to the wear of this, because you would expect with food like this to have like actually a lot of wear here, because that's because it's so flat that the arch would be pushed more.
That's also sort of a misconception
Yeah.
in the world of insoles.
Yeah.
That people think when they look down, they think, my arch has collapsed.
Yeah.
I need something for my arch.
Yeah.
So you will see a lot of insoles on the market which have something in the name with arch.
Yeah.
Arch support, arch whatever.
Yeah.
And what the insoles basically do is they put something here, and then if you push, the foot will not collapse anymore.
Yeah. Sounds like a good idea.
Sounds like a good idea.
Yeah.
The problem is that if your foot is unstable, we already have issues with the tendon, because every step we take, 8,000 to 12,000 steps a day, or with all the weight on it, and inline skating is even much more pressure. The tendon is prone to giving you some problems. Could be burning sensation under your foot. Could be pain at the heel. There's a lot of issues that could go on if you then put something under the tendon and you push down. It will basically start to push in your tendon, because the foot and the whole body weight will win. If you're 80 kilograms and you walk, there will be 80 kilograms coming down.
Yeah.
80 to 120. But if you run, it could be already 240 kilograms.
Yeah.
To 400 kilograms. Yeah. And I can imagine when you really are a good skater and you jump, the forces are huge, and you will never be able to control the foot by putting an arch support.
Yeah.
So that's why Superfeet created the heel cup. So we have a plastic heel cup. We stabilize the heel bone. We stabilize the cause, and the effect is that the foot will function better, which you can see on this insole. Is that clear?
Yeah, it's very clear. Good. Those are the questions for the specific foods.
Yeah.
Then you already just told me the benefit of having like a hard cup and everything. So that was also something that's well explained now. I hope everybody gets it. But I still want to ask a question regarding this, because I was at a trade show one time, and there was this company, I don't even remember their name. I think it was not a big company. They were just starting out with their new product, and they thought it was revolutionary, because the thing that they had, it was actually the opposite of a Superfeet. So I want to hear your opinion
Soft.
of it. No, it was not soft. It was flat at the top and very unstable underneath, so that your foot actually had to search for stability.
Yeah.
And they said, because you have to search for stability, you will train your foot, and because you will train your foot will become stronger and you will become better.
Well, if you train, you will become stronger.
Yes, exactly.
Sounds logical.
Yeah.
Problem in the foot is we have 19 muscles.
Yeah.
And there's one big muscle and 18 very, very small muscles.
Okay.
So if you really look at how the biomechanics work, and you start analyzing the muscles, then we know there's a benefit, but the actual benefit is super, super small. So a lot of people think, I have a flat foot.
Yeah.
If I start training, and they start walking barefoot the whole day, or they start to roll their foot over a tennis ball the whole evening, and they think that they will strengthen the muscles.
Yeah.
They will, but the muscles are so small that the benefit is also very small.
Okay.
You're born with the foot that you have.
Okay.
Blame your mother or your father or your grandparents, whoever. It's not your fault. You cannot help the foot that you have. It is what it is.
Yeah.
And we can only make sure that when we get older, that it doesn't get any worse.
Yeah.
If you walk with a foot which is unstable, then it could have an effect within the foot, within all the bones, muscles, structure, but also your knee and also your hip. And when you're 20 years old, you think, what the heck? I'm still young. Yeah. But I know people that have my feet that already have new hips.
Yeah.
And could an insole have helped? We don't know.
Yeah.
We can never say, but we do know that if you stabilize the foot, it will align the body much better, so you will get less friction on ankles, on knees, on hips, etc.
Yeah. Perfect explanation. Thank you so much.
Yeah. You also had a question about soft versus hard, right?
Yeah, that was kind of already in that question, but there's maybe other brands like Sidas. Maybe go into like the Sidas versus Superfeet now, maybe then, because that's also like soft versus hard a little bit.
Nah.
Because the
yeah,
Sidas,
okay.
Sidas tries to do a little bit what Superfeet does, but if you have a Sidas, you can still bend it, and the Superfeet you cannot bend it, and it's super hard.
Well,
So
usually I don't talk about colleague brands,
yeah,
but I can talk about the general way of thinking about insoles.
yeah,
I know Superfeet is born from the medical side of business
yeah,
as the only brand, and there's a lot of insoles born from marketing.
yeah,
If you look at the soft versus hard,
yeah,
I always reverse the question. If you go to the beach, I
Yeah.
know it's not that far. Where do you walk? On the waterfront or on the dunes side?
yeah. Better because the sand is harder where the water is, so it's also nicer, but the view is also better.
So it walks easier.
Yeah, it walks easier. Yeah.
So
yeah.
why does it walk easier?
Yeah.
Because it's hard.
Yeah,
So the energy you will put into your step
yeah,
will immediately come back,
Mhm.
and that makes your walking easy. If you go to the dunes
yeah,
and you put your foot in the sand,
yeah. It
all the
disappears.
energy
Yeah,
goes away.
Yeah.
It's lost.
yeah,
So walking, actually, it's a good exercise because it's much harder.
yeah,
So it's a good analogy for hard versus soft. If you put a foot on something soft,
yeah,
you know, if we go to there's a chain in Holland which sells sneakers, and when you come to the cash register, they will ask, "Do you want an insole?" And it's always the
Yeah.
gel insoles.
Yeah, yeah,
so
yeah,
we're not name shaming,
yeah,
but those guys at the cash register, they are on a target and
Yeah.
they need to ask it
Sure,
and they
yeah.
need to sell it.
Yeah.
What happens if you put gel into your shoe
yeah,
is that whenever you walk or
Yeah.
when you skate, all the energy you put from your body into your
lost.
feet
Yeah.
is lost.
yeah,
You know, if you put a building somewhere, the building we are here in Amsterdam,
yeah.
it's not built on gel.
No,
It's built on a
Balsa,
probably on a
yeah.
wooden structure here or cement.
Yeah,
So you know, we are a great advocate of hard, and some people they will say that, or you will probably
Yeah.
you've heard it, that when you say, I think you need to try this insole, they're
yeah. So
pushing
nice
with
and
their
soft.
thumb,
Yeah, yeah,
and
yeah.
they say, "Ooh, that's really hard."
Yeah, yeah, yeah,
But
yeah,
you're not walking with your thumb.
Yeah.
So I always advise people, you know, it's hard,
Mhm.
but we have a fat pad under the heel bone,
Yeah.
which is also put in this heel cup. So when you put pressure on it, the fat pad cannot go away.
Mhm.
It will give you the comfort you're looking for. So basically, the shock absorption is already in your own foot.
Yeah.
And we use it with our heel cup.
You showed me the heel drop test for this,
Ah, yeah.
and I think it's good for everybody to understand the heel drop test on this. So shall we explain that? And then we need to go to the hard floor, and I'll
Yeah.
grab a shock absorber, because regarding the hard versus soft thing, people really think that if they stand on something soft, that
Yeah.
it's actually comfortable and softer. But standing on something soft is actually not softer, and it's really weird for people to understand.
Yeah.
That it can be softer to stand on something hard. And the heel drop test, if you do that,
Okay.
then it clicks. If you have a Superfeet at home already, you can join me and try this. If you don't, come to one of our shops and try it there. So you can stand on your toes and just let yourself drop like this. It hurts, it's not comfortable. Then do the same thing at your favorite shock absorber. This is the thickest one I could find. Stand on your toes and let yourself drop. It's still not comfortable. So even though this is like more than a centimeter of foam, but the Superfeet is much smaller. There's no shock absorber. I'm just gonna use the shock absorber that's naturally in my foot. And if I do it, it's gonna be a lot more comfortable than the shock absorber, which is meant for it. So in the hard versus soft story, something that's actually hard, but in the right shape, can be a lot softer than something that is soft but not in the right shape. Another analogy that I like to take is that what the Superfeet does is, because it's in the exact right shape of your foot, it's kind of like a cast for your foot. And imagine you have a cast in your arm and you hit something. It doesn't hurt at all. But if I hit something with my arm without a cast, it actually hurts. So what the Superfeet does, it spreads the force out to your entire foot, and then the natural cushioning in your foot can just absorb everything. If you want to have more power transfer, it's also better to have something hard underneath your feet. What I do in my skate, because I also have in my skate normally this shock absorber, so I took that one out and I put in this one. I glued on two actually on top of each other to get the right height. It's also from the Superfeet brand, and it's the only heel raiser that is not a shock absorber to get like maximum power transfer. So yeah, that's a way to have that same height difference from the front to the back that's normal in a skate. Normally it's 18 millimeter you're used to, without having that cushioning that absorbs your energy. All right, now let's back to Niels, because I have a lot more questions for him. Can you tell me a little bit about how the Superfeet sizing works? Because it's a little bit complicated.
It's complicated. Why make it easy? If you look at the packaging, you will see US, UK and EU sizing, and it's from to. So basically US from 7 to 8, or UK from 6 to 7.5, and that converts to a letter. Here it says letter D. What does it mean? We have heel cup sizing, because if we break up all the feet, you will see that we have narrow heels and wider heels.
Yeah.
And usually a wide heel is a longer foot,
yeah.
But and a narrow heel is a shorter foot. But you can also have a short foot with a wide heel. I explained to you how we stabilize the foot through the heel bone. So the heel cup needs to be a perfect fit. And what Superfeet said, if we make a narrow heel cup, we will call it B. And then we go to C, D, E, F, and we also have G.
Yeah.
So basically we have 6 sizes. Our advice is stand on a couple of different insoles.
Yeah.
The one that feels good, that's the one that fits. And then the shop needs, or at home, you need to trim it to the size of the insole that comes out of the skate.
Yeah. Yeah, that's exactly the right advice. I think the best way to get a Superfeet is in one of our stores, or if you can try one, because every foot is different, and you kind of like have to feel it. As a general stroke argument, the width of the heel is should align with the width of the insole.
Yeah.
And I found a little bit of a measuring tool for this. So I revolutionized hopefully your whole industry.
First in the world.
Yeah,
Super
we
interesting.
just discussed it, of course. And
Yeah.
you said an interesting argument, because Superfeet is like in a
Non-weight bearing.
non-weight bearing. Position, and the way we measure it is in a weight bearing position, and that makes the heel a little bit wider. So
well, if you put your weight on your foot,
yeah.
your foot will become wider. It's
Exactly.
soft tissue
Yeah.
that goes to the side. But you made a very interesting way of measuring.
So if you have like something like this at home, or otherwise some dice maybe works, but for me, I think this is one of the best ways. If you just have like a piece of wood of like 1.5 centimeters or something, and just place your foot in between it. Of course, normally your foot won't be open on this side, and this point you put it on the Superfeet. You put it on this position, so it's in the center of the circle. So exactly in this spot. So that's where you place the tip of the wood over there. And then if you measure, just put a line here, and you measure the width of this, then we have a chart in the description of the Superfeet product, and where you can then translate this length to the right size Superfeet. So that's the best way we can approach the Superfeet size. It's not 100% perfect. The best way is to come to the store, of course, but for people who want to buy it online, this is the ideal way. Otherwise, if you want to have like a broad stroke, I think that if you take your EU size, it's better to take one Superfeet size up. This is not the official statement from Superfeet, but from my experience of selling Superfeet in store, this works. So
Yeah.
And what Niels already says, they're almost always too long. So this is also one of the downsides of having to sell Superfeets in stores. That it's hard to put a Superfeet in a skate. We have some samples that are already short, but we cannot take one out of the package and you cannot immediately feel it because you almost always have to cut it to shape. Because this front part you really don't have to look at it as part of the insole. This is just really meant to cut. Right, next question. There's a big debate within inline skating of what the right way to do it is. Is it the best way to put the insole in the liner or underneath the liner?
That's a good one. That's a good one. We take something out of the inline skate,
Yeah.
Which is the sock liner.
Yeah.
That's the thing we started with. So if we take that out,
Yeah.
we put the Superfeet in that position.
Yeah, exactly. That's the official statement. So there's this one brand of liners, and I think the argument because I can know who initiated this argument, and I had a debate with him. He's an influential guy, and this liner is from neoprene all around. So most of the liners they have a weird material at the bottom. You really want to have a sock liner to cover that because it's just not comfortable, or an insole. But this liner, like the Intuition liners, they are neoprene everywhere. So you can make an argument that is comfortable. So that doesn't need to have a sock liner because it is comfortable. And then it's the same material on the bottom and at the top. So and if you put a Superfeet in it, you can mess with that unified feeling of the Intuition liner. What do you think of this argument?
It's an argument I've heard before. I know Intuition. I know people who put it under the Intuition. In the end, if your foot is unstable, the best way to stabilize it is to do it directly to the foot.
Yeah.
If you put it under the liner, it will have less of an effect.
Yeah.
If you put it in there, it will first of all have a better effect, but also it will work with the feeling of Intuition.
Yeah.
Because it will give you an underfoot feel of comfort.
Yeah.
And Intuition is all about comfort, right?
Yeah, it's very comfortable.
Okay. So my advice is in.
Yeah.
But I can understand why people from the brand will say differently about it.
Okay. Yeah.
I leave it with them.
Does it do anything with the stability of the insole if you put it underneath, or does that not matter? Because maybe the skate is in a specific shape. We can also go into that a little bit.
Well,
still. Maybe this is not as stable.
I would say how thick is the Intuition liner, right? That's a question.
You have different models and they have different thicknesses.
Because if you put this inside of the Intuition, you will basically put it on something soft.
Yeah.
Which will create more movement.
Yeah, maybe.
So will it give the maximum effect? Probably not. Will it do more than it did before? Probably yes.
Yeah.
If you put it under, it will be better positioned.
Yeah.
But then you will have something in between.
Yeah.
So, my advice is if you take something out, replace it by Superfeet in the same place where you took it out.
So that's the official statement. Clear. Now you know. Okay. So this is called the hockey insole, and you showed a couple of different samples as well. And so there's a different shape to a hockey skate. I know you have a cool story about that, but also I'm interested in why there's different these pins here. They're different in all the different Superfeet models. Yeah. So we mainly sell the ones for hockey because they fit perfectly for skates. Yeah. So how does all that work?
Well, first of all, hockey is a bit of a funny name in a store like this. I'll try to keep it short, but this insole is created for Bauer. If we look at skate from a US angle, they think, we have skate, it's hockey.
Yeah.
If we transfer it more to Europe, we don't have that much hockey here. So or ice hockey we call it.
Exactly.
So that's why they call this one a hockey Pro Series Performance, and it was created because back in the days, and I think it's in the 70s or 80s, the request came from Bauer Company to create an insole for them. So the guys met up and they asked Dr. Chris Smith and Dennis Brown what they thought about the skate, and and if they could make an insole about it, and they looked at the skate and they said, you need a new skate. Coming from a doctor of science and doctor of podiatrics, so it was a bit of a bold statement.
Yeah.
But the back then the CEO agreed and said, okay, you know, if you think you can do better, go ahead. What they did, they took the foot in a non-weight bearing position, and basically the whole leg as well, and they put it in the neutral. We talked about that in the anatomy part, and they made a cast. So they plastered it, and from that they built a shell, and they in the shell there was a place, there was a space created for an insole as well. So basically they created an ice hockey skate, including an insole. And when Bauer put it to market, it's the Bauer 100 for people who are a little bit older than me even. It was the best-selling skate at the time.
So they changed the way the shape looked
They changed
because of the shape of the insole, or like,
they changed.
in what way did they change it?
The whole skate was not built on the neutral non-weight bearing foot. And they said if we build it on the non-weight bearing neutral foot with an insole, you will have a good skate. And the fit was so phenomenal.
Yeah.
From what they tell me, that it was a massive success.
Okay.
And then 10 years later, new CEO, and he thought, why is this so expensive? And he threw it out.
Yeah.
That's how it goes.
Okay.
That's why we call it hockey.
Okay.
It's very US focused, but we use it in all types of shoes that have a little bit of an, you discussed it already, a little bit of an heel raise.
Yeah.
And you said it's 18
millimeter. Normally.
18 millimeter.
Yeah.
So if you look at the inside of the shell, you can see there's an angle, and it's generic in most, I think 80-90% of the inline skates.
Yeah.
And also ice hockey, and that's why the heel is lifted a little bit.
Yeah.
This is one answer to your question.
Yeah.
There are more insoles. There's a couple of on the table here. I put them here. There's different shapes. All those.
Show the back side.
Okay.
Because this is also really different.
These insoles are basically based on a flat surface.
Yeah.
So not in an angle anymore. So those insoles are made for hiking shoes, running, ski boots. You can use them in sneakers, because they're all based on a flat surface. Now your question is, why do they all look different? Basically, if you look at it, they are not that different. They will they all will have a middle which is a little bit higher than the rest, and I can show you by putting, there is movement here, there is movement here.
Why?
And there is movement here.
Yeah.
And on this one, this one doesn't have the side pins, but if you stand on it, you will put force on this, and this will move as well a little bit.
Yeah.
Why? That's the only question, and that's the right question.
Why don't you fix this instability?
Because when we use our feet, we come back to the early story. The feet goes through supination, pronation to roll off.
But not in skating, does it?
It does.
Okay.
And so any sport you do, if it's cycling, running, skiing, snowboarding, skating, the foot will supinate, pronate.
Okay.
Always. And it is basically, can you stretch your arm?
Yeah.
If I will hold your arm like this, and you try to supinate, pronate.
Yeah. It's hard. Yeah.
But you can still move.
Yeah.
And what you see is that the bone structure inside of the skin is basically moving.
Yeah.
Right? So now do it again.
Okay. Yeah.
And I'm gonna act like a Superfeet.
Yeah.
I'm gonna work with your heel cup.
Yeah.
So now I'm your heel cup.
Yeah.
And now try to supinate and pronate again.
Yeah. I can not move my hand.
No.
Yeah.
So now it's impossible. So basically, if you stabilize the foot, you stabilize it in the shoe with the heel bone. That's why we have the heel cup.
Yeah.
But the heel will always go from supination to pronation.
Yeah, so it should still be able to move a little bit.
It's a misconception that inside a shoe or an inline skate, that the foot doesn't move anymore.
Corrected me a little bit when I said fixating the foot.
Yeah.
And that's why you mean like, yeah, we're fixating, but not 100%.
Yeah.
That's kind of like what you mean?
Yeah. So if you fixate the foot, it will start to hurt.
Okay.
Because the foot needs to go from supination to pronation.
Okay.
So if you're skating
Yeah.
and you you will push one foot away,
Yeah. Yeah.
the foot will go into pronation.
Yeah. True.
And
yeah.
the other one
Yeah.
is basically preparing
Yeah.
for the impact. So the other, while this one is in pronation, the other one will prepare for impact, supination. It will hit the ground and start to pronate, and then this one resupinates.
Yeah.
So it's a constant motion. Your feet are constantly moving.
Yeah.
Any sport, and they're doing it opposite, unless you are snowboarding and water skiing, because you're fixed to the board, and they will do it at the same time.
Yeah. Why are they all different though? Why are all these shapes? Why is this one completely round, and why is this one different than this one? Why these different shapes? Why not choose one shape and stick with it?
It also has to do with the materials. So those two have carbon fiber in the cap.
Yeah.
This is just plastic caps. This was the original shape. They made the lines in here to give it a bit more structure.
Yeah.
So it can still move. So this is the highest point. It will still tilt, and then it will hit the lines. In a thinner version, they couldn't use this one. So they said, okay, let's put 3 pins here. So you will land on the pins. This is a thinner version of this. And over here, they didn't need the pins because this is carbon. This is so extremely hard that the movement in this one is less than this one. This is plastic. So this moves a lot more than this. So there's many shapes. It also has to do with the footwear it is supposed to go in. You know, and there's probably also part evolution. This is a very old shape. This is a more recent shape.
So some of the skates, like this Levi van Rijn Pro skate, has if you would cut it here, it would have this shape. So it's like really square. And other skates have more of like a round shape. If you would cut it there, I don't know. Maybe one of the high-end soft boots. Here, the Hardcore Evo. So this one, if you cut it, it's probably more of like a round shape.
Yeah.
Does that change anything?
I think I need to look inside. How does it look inside? Can we take this out?
No.
Okay, so is there an insole inside?
Yeah.
A sock liner?
There should be. No, there's actually not.
No.
I'm surprised.
So if you look at the outside,
Yeah.
it looks round.
Yeah.
But I peeked a little bit to the inside.
It's actually still pretty square.
And it's flat.
Yeah.
So if you take this one, because it has the angle, if you put it in here, it will lay flat on the flat surface, and it will be able to move a little bit.
Yeah. Next question: if we're talking about the heel raise, or why this is called the hockey, and how that relates to the skating, what happens if you put like a non-hockey insole, a Superfeet insole in a skate, or what happens if you put the hockey insole in a shoe? How does that work?
Then I need my bone structure again.
Yeah.
So we all know that, or maybe we don't, but now it has been explained that there is a heel raise inside of the skate.
Yeah.
18 millimeters.
Yeah.
You said. So if we would put, because this is relatively flat, the skate here basically looks like this and has probably an 18 millimeter in there, but there's many skates go like this. So they start a little bit here and then they go down. This shape is exactly what we see here. If we have a skate like this, can we put this in here? Yes, we can. We will still control the heel, but basically the back end is a little bit dropped.
Yeah.
So you would need to put your little heel raise under there.
Yeah. Okay.
Or we can use a flat one.
Yeah.
If you would sell that and put it in here.
We don't have skates that go in a straight line. I think all the skates that we have, even if they start off with the straight line at the bottom, then they have like this shock absorber in it to create this wave.
That's basically if we use it with the heel lift, then the position of the whole foot is exactly as it should be.
Yeah.
If we put it on a flat surface, you can see it drops back, and basically your foot is not in the ideal position. It will still stabilize the heel, but it's not the ideal position. So So if it's a straight line, then you would need to raise it a little bit.
So what happens if you put the hockey insole in a shoe?
I don't know. I should try.
Yeah.
I've never
Right.
tried.
Would you advise people
No,
to...
no. If if the heel race, the hockey or the skate, I used to call it skate, but the hockey is the only one with the heel race.
Yeah.
And we should use it in footwear. That is.
Okay.
I don't know what biomechanically or anatomically go wrong. I don't know. I did some studies in the US, but not that much. So.
And the other way around, if you take a normal for flat shoes Superfeet insole, you put it in a race heel inline skate, what happens?
Well, then your insole will flex.
Yeah, so it will just bend with the shape.
Yeah, but you will feel it flexing.
Oh, okay.
Because if the under the skate under the insole there is a void.
Yeah.
And you put your
exactly.
then basically what happens is that you will start to flex, so it doesn't feel really good.
Yeah.
So I would say, if you explained me that 80-90% of the inline skates in store, they have this angle.
Yeah, all of them have the,
All of them.
yeah.
Then come in or find them online on. Do you have them online?
We currently have these, but I also like to have Superfeet in my shoes, and I have been using the hockey ones in my shoes.
Okay.
Up until now, so I hope I didn't fuck myself up.
No,
so.
you won't.
Okay.
It's not the ideal combination, but it will, like I said, it will stabilize the foot, or the heel bone, and therefore the foot. It will give the benefits, but it's not the ideal combination.
Okay. Then I think the last subject is the custom Superfeet. We have the fit pod here. We got it from you, so that's really cool. We made a video with Odetta on this already. It's on our YouTube channel where we dive really deep into it and we show exactly how it works. Maybe you can elaborate a little bit on what the benefit is of a custom sole versus the standard sole.
Why did Superfeet make custom?
Yeah.
They basically started with custom.
Okay. Oh yeah, of course. Yeah.
And from there they created the over-the-counter line.
Yeah.
The thing is that people have 2 feet usually, but those 2 feet are always different.
Yeah.
So there is a difference. If you look down, your left foot looks different than your right foot. It could be the length, it could be the shape, it could be the heel. There's always a difference. If you want the best working insole, you have to put your shape into an insole.
Yeah.
And with those, you cannot do that because it's out of the packaging ready.
Yeah.
But if you use our FitPod, like you showed in the last video, we will heat the cap. We will take the cap, heat it until it becomes like chewing gum.
Yeah.
Then we'll put it under the foot and we'll vacuum it to your foot. So you're and it's hard to see for the untrained eye, but your left insole will be different from your right insole. And it will reflect the differences in your foot shape. And therefore it will benefit even more. People then ask me how much more? Impossible to say. I usually think of a custom insole will probably hit 100. Let's say the custom hits 100%. Then the standard insole will probably already hit 60, 70.
Yeah.
So a lot of people will benefit from this or will start with this. Yeah. And then for the second pair, they will come and they will go for the custom.
What foot shapes would be most helped by a custom insole? Would it be the high arch or the...
Yeah, again, that's hard to say, but from my experience, we have helped a lot of people with high arch. With a custom, like I said in the beginning, 50% of the people with a super high arch foot, they tend to like it, and 50% they don't really know. Yeah. If you give them a custom, it will improve. Yeah. Because you will build that specific shape into the insole, so you can modify it to their feet. On the other end, I have helped, or we as Superfeet. And I personally in Holland, we have helped so many unstable feet. You say flat feet, but unstable feet. Yeah. With an insole, it's amazing. You know, if you start with it, if you feel it in your skate and you really like it, I would say, you know, why only skate on your insole and not use it the rest of the week? So
Yeah.
come back to the store and they can help you find the right insole for your daily shoes.
Yeah. Thank you so much for this. I think I learned a lot from
hope so.
this whole story. I already knew a lot of the stories that you told, but I definitely also learned a lot. I hope you guys also learned a lot. The difficulty of the insoles and finding the right one, it's a little bit of a quest. The best thing to do is just to try it. I think overall it helps most people relieve pain what they have while skating. It can relieve pressure points on the foot, like just general like fatigue of the feet after skating.
Yeah.
So after skating for 1, 2, 3 hours, your feet are just done. It helps with that. And it also helps with just your general strides, making them more effective and less like walking in the sand and more like walking on like a good surface. Like so, there's less energy loss because the foot is in a more stable position. So definitely worth the money if you want to try it. We have a link in the description, of course, to the Superfeet product on our web shop, and you can come to one of our stores to try it. So thank you, Niels, so much for all the explanations.
You're welcome.
And hope to see you guys in the future. If you have any questions, drop it in the comments, and see you guys in the next video.
Thanks, guys.
All right. Bye-bye.